Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Institute of Global Professionals. Those who regularly joined our international webinar, I hope you have benefited a little bit through these webinars. We are trying to find the best trainers, speakers, coaches from all over the world are able to present that they are very skilled. Hopefully, it will help everyone a little bit. We hope you are with us this initiative and will be in the future. We will evaluate and do something for those who wants to learn. If we can help someone with our efforts, that's a lot for us. Our activities will continue if we get support from yours. For the students, the mission of the Institute of Global Professionals is to empower them to better their lives and to contribute positively to the organizations and communities in which they work and live. We accomplish by this we accomplish this by providing quality higher educations. We serve students nationally, locally, and internationally through our respective campus locations and distance learning formats. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals. People who are joining with us, I'm cordially welcoming you all. We hope that the webinar will help you to enlighten your knowledge in various sectors. Hope you will enjoy and stay with us till the end. We have already completed 41 webinars successfully, and our last webinar was on Underneath the Music. Today, we are presenting the webinar 42 on stretch management. Today's guest speaker, Dr. Shara Langley. Dr. Shara, ma'am, is a licensed clinical psychotherapist, award-winning global speaker, corporate trainer, and leadership coach for individuals, business leaders, and Fortune 500 companies all over the world. Her clients reach out to her when they are experiencing one or more of following: career frustration, feeling ineffective or powerless in their skill or abilities, glass ceiling or obstacles, overwhelmed with life and work balance, lack of self-confidence, and clarity on next step for their lives and careers. Unlike most counselor and consultants in the field, Dr. Sarah Ma'am 25 years background of and experience in executive leadership, mentorship, uh, clinical psychology, and PhD in human behavior has afforded her the opportunity to help her clients eliminate hidden fear of losing to secure a purposeful, powerful, and profitable life, lifestyle by gaining an attitude, position, and mindset to win at the top. Dr. Shara Ma'am helps you to live, love, and lead a limitless life. We'd love to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Shara Ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So, everyone, thank you. Thank you so much, IGP, for allowing me and affording me the opportunity to teach and instruct on how to now have a stressless, stress free life as we are entering into a new year. And I just want to thank everyone for showing up because it's been said that 80% of success is just showing up. So the fact that you are showing up right now in whatever time, whatever day that you are here, I just want to say thank you and just want to celebrate you on your success. You're really on your way. And now oblige me and allow me to partner with you on knowing how to stress less and be able to manage your stress so that as you go into a new year with a new fresh way of outlook, perspective, view, hope, honor, this is the time to now do it now, not wait until the turn of the year to start working on stressing less or preparing for the new year. This is your turn right now to live, love, and lead a limitless life stress free. So, with that said, my name is Dr. Sarah Langley. I'm from the US of A. And we're going to go right into how to manage the stress better in your life and beyond. So, the whole point of this presentation is to help you to understand what stress is. Because a lot of times I find that we really don't know or can't really pinpoint what is the source of our stress. We think that it may be various things that's going on, but sometimes it may have to do with your mindset. So we need to actually find out what is stress, what is the source of stress. So in this presentation, you're going to learn how to understand the definitions of stress when it relates to work, relationships, and even your mental state. You're going to also be able to recognize the common indicators of healthy and unhealthy stress. You're going to be able to understand the difference between stress and burnout. And you're going to also be able to understand and have a conversation with me about healthy and unhealthy coping strategies. And after that, you'll be able to have your certificate, and then we'll go from there. And if you do find value, if you find that this is an important conversation to have, feel free to go ahead and share this out to your communities, because sharing is caring. So while you have showed up today, there may be people that's in your life, your colleagues, your friends, your peers, your family members that may also need this presentation. So go ahead and feel free to share this out to your communities. That would be awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's go right into it. What is stressing you? Put that in the comment section. Are you stressed today? Is anything going on in your world right now that's stressing you out? And if so, put it in the comment section. I'm able to see it. So talk back to me. Let's see. Is anything stressing you out right now in your life? What's going on in your world? Let's see. I know for me, I have to agree with Prentice. Work, the environment, the pandemic, being in, listen, I'm at home work. I had to take work home with me. So who had to actually change their life and their lifestyle and their livelihood where they have to now do their work at home, where home used to be separate from work. You would leave work at work, and then you could at least go home and actually have it as your sanctuary. But now many of us had to bring work home and working from home. Who is doing that? You're saying the pandemic, work, what else? School, absolutely. The environment. So many of you, we all are on the same page. Class requirements, yes, absolutely. Home life can be stressful. Lots of work, the environment, yes, yes, and yes. So here's the thing. Someone said their neighbors. I understand that as well. Understand this. I mentioned before that first and foremost, where do we locate the stress? The stress can actually start with your mindset. So this is a quote that I've taken from Frank Outlaw, and it's talked about your character. It's all about character. Watch your thoughts, because they become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your habits. Let me back up. Watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your actions. They become habits. Watch your habits, because they become your character. And watch your character, because they do become your destiny. To stress. See, the thing is that if we don't pay attention to where the source lies, it really comes down to our mindset, because the way that we think determines how we behave. So when you're thinking about a situation such as work, such as home life, such as the pandemic, such as your neighbors, such as your classwork, it's not so much of the tangible situation, but rather your perception of it. And when you're able to locate how you're thinking, how you're processing, how you're feeling about that situation, it puts you in an advantage to be able to change or do something different regarding that stressor. So then you can now stress less or release yourself from the stress. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Current facts about stress. 75% of the general population experiences some form of stress every 2 weeks. And now, because of the pandemic, I'm sure that that number has went up more than every 2 weeks, because even when we look at the news, when we go on social media, it's not a day or an hour that goes by when we're hearing something that is now exacerbating our stress levels. Approximately 1 million people every day, at least in the US alone, not just globally, are absent due to work stress-related disorders. Let's talk about this. At least in the US alone, $300 billion annually is paid or assessed by absenteeism, diminished productivity, employee turnover, direct medical, legal, and insurance fees, and other related consequences. So let alone globally. So the numbers, I'm sure, are astronomical because of the fact that now we have a pandemic where we've lost countless lives. We're in a time where this is supposed to be the holiday season, and this is the time that you're supposed to be jovial and happy, and you're supposed to be of a giving heart and wanting to have time with family and friends. But because of the pandemic that we're in, grief and loss ensue. Personally speaking, I don't know if anyone that's watching right now may have lost a loved one during this time, may have lost a loved one even before the pandemic. So now you have compounded stress because of grief and loss. Listen, we're here to be relational and help each other out. So I'm definitely here at your service to help you through the stress so that you can get to the other side and now actually paint a beautiful world that you're about to turn into the next year. We're getting out of the stress. This is what I'm saying. Who's with me? Who wants to get out of the stress? Put that in the comment section. Say that's me. I want to be free from stress. All right, so let's talk about what stress is. What is stress? Fancy way, because you can read the PowerPoint. What stress really is really having to do with the response that your body gives to a demand, an external factor outside of yourself. So you're responding to something that's outside of yourself. Your heart rate, your immune system, your organs, your brain now has to adjust because of the perceived danger of stress. So it is something, again, perceived. Everything has to do with the mindset. So it's a stressor, whether it's life, whether it is schoolwork, whether it is work, whether it is neighbors, it's whatever is an external factor based on your perception of that perceived stressor. You react to it, you respond to it in every sense of the word. All your systems, again, your heart rate, your immune system, your organs, your brain, you now respond to this perception of that stress. And to drive it home about what stress is based on how you perceive it as a danger or a threat to you. An example would be if you're driving to work, if you're driving to school, and now all of a sudden, as you're at the light and the light turns whatever color for you to move and proceed, you see an oncoming traffic coming towards you. So you're swerving to get out of harm's way because you perceive that you're about to get hurt, you're about to be harmed, you're about to lose your life. So now you're reacting to that perceived threat by either swerving, something called fight or flight, which we're about to get into that a little bit more. Either you're going to get out of harm's way or you're going to panic and not do anything. But either way, it is your body's reaction to the perceived threat. So there are 3 types of stressors that we're going to talk about for you to understand about the perception, the perceived threat that you respond to. One type of stress is called acute stress, and that results in the demands and pressures of recent or past anticipated demands or pressures of the near future. So whether a stress that is anticipated to happen or a past or recent demand that you are responding to. So an example would be whether it's emotional distress. Let's say that something has happened in your past, whether you may have lost a home, you may have lost your job. Now, this could be recent right now. Many of you may have lost your job. Maybe many of you may have been laid off. But either way, because of that perceived threat, it is something that's impacting you right now. The fact that you may have lost your job 10 months ago. But because of that perceived thought of, oh, I can't pay my bills. Oh my gosh, I'm about to lose my home. I'm going to be homeless. It is acute. It's happening right now, that anytime that you're thinking about that or something that's in the near future, something that didn't even happen yet, you're responding to. So let's say that you lost your job 10 months ago and you're still at your home, you're still able to live where you are, the lights are still on, you're still able to pay your bills, but you may be worried that, oh, the money's going to run out. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. Oh, my money's going to run out. I'm going to be homeless. So either way, whether it's something that happened in the past or something that's about to happen, or you perceive that it's going to happen, it is impacting you right here and right now. Who is having any type of acute stress? Put that in the comment section if that's you. Here are the common symptoms of acute stress. Whether you're angry, having anxiety, being depressed, you're having muscular problems, it's showing up in your body, whether you're having back pain, jaw pain. You may have tension headaches. I know that I get those. Whoever gets tension headaches or migraines. It may impact your digestive system, whether you're not able to eat, you're constipated, or having diarrhea or heartburn, or even elevated in your blood pressure. So you're having rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, heart palpitations, dizziness, cold hands or feet, shortness of breath, or chest pain. Does any of this relate to you? Put that in the comment section. I see some of you talking about having headaches, maybe being depressed from time to time. You're saying that's me. Alicia thinks that she has acute stress. So we're going to talk about this. We're definitely going to talk about the coping strategies and what you can do to help yourself out. But we need to first identify the sources of stress. So let's talk about episodic acute stress. This occurs for those who lead disordered, chaotic lives and suffer from frequent acute stressors, such as having nervous energy. So let's say that there isn't anything going on. You're perceiving it. So whether you're meditating or you're thinking about something, it's called rumination. You're ruminating. So you're thinking about something over and over and over and over. Let's say the one who talked about their neighbor and how they can't, the neighbor causes them stress. So now you're at home, you're not even seeing the neighbor. The neighbor is at their own home, but you're thinking about the neighbor and what the neighbor has done, what the neighbor's dog has done in your yard. And now it's based on, it's episodic. It's either abrupt, it's either, coming and impacting you abruptly all of a sudden. It's only happening in episodes. It's not in succession. It's not happening over and over and over. But ever so often, you may just find yourself being moody, being short-tempered, being irritable all the time, because all of a sudden this situation is coming up and hitting you on a regular basis. Just happenstance. Because of the fact that it is ceaseless worry. Now, we can absolutely say the pandemic is episodic. It definitely has happened and it really has impacted all of us. And it is an episode. After we come out of the pandemic, and everyone please know that we will come out of this pandemic. When we get on the other side and advance after this will no longer be an episodic acute stressor. So disasters that happen, these are considered as episodic acute stressors. So we can definitely say that if you find yourself being short-tempered, being nervous all the time, being irritable, being tense, like having this nervous energy, it is possible because it is an episodic acute stressor. But know that once this episode subsides, this will no longer impact you unless it becomes something called post-traumatic stress disorder. But we'll talk about that. The focus right now is to help you to understand about stress. Someone mentioned that it is definitely a silent killer because we're now going about our day to day, becoming not so much immune to it, but it's like we're becoming on autopilot. Like anything can happen at the drop of a hat, and now we're reacting and responding to it as a perceived threat. So that's why you have to be mindful of how you're reacting, how you're thinking, how you're behaving. It's so important for all of us to pay attention to ourselves. We pay attention to everyone else. We're able to diagnose everyone else. But how about if we now look at the mirror and start looking at ourselves and being able to indicate and locate us if we are actually having stressors in our lives, and how is it really impacting us? So we talked about acute stress. We talked about episodic stress. Let's talk about chronic stress. Now, chronic stress is a wear and tear. It happens and impacts us day after day, year after year, actually destroying our bodies, our minds, and our lives, because it wreaks havoc, long-term erosion. So chronic stress is continual. You're always stressed. And that, like when someone had mentioned about stress being a silent killer, absolutely, cortisone. Yes, because of the fact that it is a wear and tear day after day, year after year, and it really starts to erode our mindset, our body, our immune system starts to get weak. Our mindset, now we're stressed about everything. We're irritable about everything. We're responding to everything. This actually happens. It's interesting how stress can be such a silent killer that when people pass away and we name certain things that cause their death, we don't hear too much that perhaps stress was a source of that. That's why it's so important of this conversation today. With everything that's going on in the pandemic, on top of whatever was going on in your life before the pandemic, and now this compounded, I definitely wanted to make sure before you go into the turn of the year, into your next year, that you now leave stress here this year. Who can talk about it? 2020, at the time of this recording, has really been some type of year, hasn't it? This has been some year. Everyone wants to do a reset or a redo or pretend that 2020 never existed. But if we don't now stop and take the time to pay attention to what is stressing us out, all we're going to do is repeat the cycle. We're going to take the pandemic into 2021. We're going to take stress into 2021, unless right now, right here today, we're going to identify the stressors in our lives. We're going to understand the source of stress. And then we're going to talk about the coping strategies, what you can do to help yourself out. So I just wanted to let you know, first and foremost, please give yourself credit and grace. A lot of times we beat ourselves up for the fact that we are so stressed and we're allowing outside factors to impact us, neighbors, work, money, family, peers, whoever. But please know that it's not a matter of you beating yourself up for allowing outside factors to impact you like you do. It's okay. And it's okay to not be okay sometimes. That's why you're here. You showed up. You're already successful because you want to know, how do you manage stress? So give yourself a pat on the back for that. Give yourself credit for that you showed up so that you can do something about the stress, so that you don't take this into the next year, that you leave stress like 2020. We're leaving 2020 behind. We're leaving stress behind. And who's with me on that? Who wants to leave stress behind in 2020? Who wants to be stress-free in 2021? If that's you, say that's me. Put that in the comment section. Carla said that she doesn't want to keep repeating the cycle. Stress weakens us physically and mentally. That's correct. Anger can be a source of stress. Yes. Chronic stress can truly affect one's life terribly. Absolutely. And that's why we are not absolutely leaving 2020 and stress behind. Yes or yes? I mentioned this a moment ago in regards to fight or flight. So just understand what it is. Fight or flight is, you have the perceived threat. So let's talk about driving in traffic. You perceive a car, oncoming traffic, about to hit you. So either you're going to fight, either you're going to react and you're going to get out of harm's way, or you're going to freeze. You're not going to fight. You're going to flight. You're going to actually either freeze and not do anything. A better example could be, I want to use myself as an example, or a client actually of mine. So my client one of my clients had to deal with a stressful situation when it came to their loved one, their family members. So one thing that has been going up and up in terms of sources of stress have been for married couples, because you were used to going to work and then coming home, and you had a groove, you had a way of how you were handling your day to day. But now that many of us have to work from home, and you may have children that you're helping through school, it's compound stress on compound stress on compound stress. So what has been going up in terms of numbers are the rate of, unfortunately, divorce, because couples haven't been used to being around each other 24/7. At least work had given you some time away from your loved one to miss them. But now you're at home. Now you're seeing children. You're seeing your spouse or your significant other, and now it's really a source of contention. So my client had to deal with family members. Their family members had to move in with them because they lost their home. And so now the client had a challenge where he was very passive. He wasn't one to speak for him, speak up or be assertive. He was very introverted. Any introverts in the house, you can talk back to me. So what he had to do was, he was noticing that having to now not only have his own family at the house, but now having his wife's family in the house. It's not funny. It's just interesting how the dynamic can really impact us. And he didn't know that that was a source, a major source, an episodic one of contention for him. And so the father-in-law was kind of like a bully. And because my client wanted to respect his wife and his wife's father, he would internalize the stress, and he was irritable. He was having problems with his digestive system. He was having headaches, and he was trying to figure out how to keep his family happy, but also having to deal with his wife's family. And so, long story short, he had to make a decision. Every time he saw his father-in-law, it was either a fight or flight situation. He would try to avoid his father. His father knew that his son-in-law was reacting to him, so he would poke him. He would pick with him. And so it got to a point where my client had to decide to either fight the situation, react when he felt that his dad or his father-in-law was a perceived threat, or, which he normally did, he would either flight away, like he wouldn't deal with the situation, or he would freeze. He wouldn't do anything. He would either try to avoid his father-in-law, or he would freeze. He wouldn't do anything. It gets to a point that you have to make a decision. It's just a response, a reaction. Either we're going to fight the situation, whether I'm pushing my client or encouraging him and empowering him to fight, not necessarily physically fight his father-in-law, but to actually stand up for himself, because it's his house. It's his house. And that doesn't take away from him feeling like he's disrespecting his wife, because that is her father. But it is a matter of him standing up for himself, because it is his home, and that they're being gracious enough to allow his wife's family to be there. So understanding that fight or flight is a reaction, it's a response. Sometimes we'll either fight a situation, which means that we're going to stand up to it because this is primal, it's instinctive, or we're going to flight, we're going to avoid the situation at all costs because we don't want it to hurt us. So let me stop here. Just want to see if you had any questions for us. All people react to stressful events in the same way, yes or no? So that's one of the questions that has been posed. Do all people react to stressful events in the same way? Yes or no? Yes, people react to stressful events. No, not all people react to stressful events in the same time. Some people, sometimes difficult to solve. Many of you said no. So most of you had said no. So here's the thing. All people react to stressful events in the same way. The answer is no, because everyone is different in how they react and how they respond. Because of It could be culturally, it could be economically. It's all these different factors that plays part with how you're going to respond. So not everyone responds the same way. It's based on your makeup. You could be a fight type of person, or you could be a flight type of person when it comes to stress. So yes, that is the correct answer. If everyone has said, for those who said no, that is the correct answer. Not all people react stressful, or not all people react to stressful events in the same way. All right, so what are the 4 major sources of stress? So some sources of stress that you have to be mindful of, so that, again, you don't blame yourself for your reaction. It's okay. Give yourself grace. Extend the grace and mercy to yourself for the fact that, hey, sometimes we cannot control what happens outside of ourselves. So, and understand that you're human. So if you're reacting to stress, that is your body's way of trying to adjust accordingly. So please don't blame yourself or beat yourself up. Give yourself grace and give yourself credit for what you're doing. This is the day you are here learning about stress, learning about the sources of stress, and learning about coping strategies and mechanisms to help you be stressed less so that you can have a stress-less life in 2021. So 4 major sources of stress: significant life adjustments. Hey, what's going on right now in the world, right? We all are adjusting right now. So the pandemic is one major source, can be a major source of stress. Daily routines is another source of stress, another major source of stress, such as fighting traffic, meeting a deadline. Unrealistic self-expectations can also be another major source of stress, again, because of the mindset. So your own expectation of yourself, that could be unrealistic. So an example is, like I just said, I've just been mentioning this over and over. The fact that you expect yourself to be strong, to withstand the emotional aspect or the mental aspect of how the pandemic may be impacting you and your loved ones, or impacting you financially, or impacting you psychologically or physically. You may have expected yourself to rise to the occasion and to not let this impact you at all. That could be rather unrealistic. And because of that way of thinking, when you're finding yourself being irritable, angry, depressed, scared, fearful, and it's contrary to how you're thinking that you're supposed to be strong for the family, you're supposed to have it all together during a pandemic, but you're reacting differently, that in and of itself is stressful. So I'm here to release you from that stressful way of thinking, to let go of the unrealistic expectations. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. None of us saw this coming, pretty much. So it should not be expected for you to have been strong for your family, or to feel that, oh, you failed because of the fact that you weren't prepared for a global pandemic. Pretty much none of us were. So significant life adjustments, such as the pandemic, daily routines, unrealistic expectations, and interpersonal relationships. I already mentioned that, how for many couples at this time, it really is testing their love right now because of the adjustment that had to happen, working from home, taking care of children, teaching them, being now the teacher as well as an employee at home, where home was your sanctuary and now it's your workplace. So poor communication can lead to conflict. When you're not talking and you're not communicating, because a lot of times we want to be mind readers. We're thinking that our loved one or our significant other is a mind reader. Not necessarily. Just because you've been together for all this time doesn't necessarily mean that you can know each other's thoughts, and you're not communicating your stress. You're not communicating your fear. You're not communicating your frustration. You're not communicating the worry of the uncertainty of the unknown. Very interesting. You know what's interesting is that while we're all ready to leave this year behind, many people are also stressed about the uncertainty of the next year? Is that you? Are you fearful that 2020, 2021 is going to be a repeat of 2020? Because we surely didn't see 2020 coming the way that it did. And so many people, the anticipatory grief and stress that they're having, that 2021 is going to be like 2020, people are reacting and they're not able to communicate it verbally. They're communicating it through their actions. So you have to know what are these sources and the responses of stress. Life adjustment, daily routine, unrealistic self-expectations, and interpersonal relationships are major sources of stress. How do you respond to them? That is key. How are you reacting to them? How are you perceiving them? That makes a world of difference between you being stressful and becoming a chronic stressor, or you becoming stressless, because now you have the momentum and the advantage because you're now knowing what it is. You're able to identify what it is when you're reacting and then being able to know what to do about it, which we're going to talk about. So the next question is, experiencing long-term stress is not harmful to you? Yes or no? Many of you have said no. Experiencing long-term stress is not harmful to you. Yes or no? Cannot avoid stress in this time, so we have to do our best to manage it. Absolutely, Katie. Yes. Abuya. I may have said your name wrong, so forgive me for that. 2020 has been a stressful year, huh? Yes, it's according to your mood. Experiencing long-term stress can be harmful for someone. So experiencing long-term stress is not harmful to you. Well, the answer, based on how the question is posed, no. Experiencing long-term stress is harmful to you because it's chronic. So if you're experiencing long-term stress, that's chronic stress. Day in and day out, moment by moment, where it's now a wear and tear on your mind, your body, and your spirit. And we mentioned this, that stress can be a source, it's a silent killer. People can lose their lives over stress alone. Y'all doing great. I love it. Y'all are doing awesome. Thank you so much. See, you have to understand that energy begets energy. So I'm feeling your energy today and I love it. And I'm just so happy that you're responsive and that you're here and that we're working together to help each other out. Because just as much as you're learning from this presentation, I'm learning from you. So I thank you that we are all working together to help each other out. So we talked about stress. Real quick, let's talk about burnout. Who's ever experienced burnout before? Burnout is a physical, mental, and emotional response to constant, consistent levels of high stress. So you can be maxed out, burned out, stressed out. Who ever been through a moment of burnout before? If that's you, say yes, that's me. So I saw a question, can stress be manageable? Absolutely, yes, it can. And we're going to talk about the coping strategies on how you can manage your stress. So, physical, mental, or emotional response to constant stress levels of high stress. So that means that you're always stressed. You're always stressed. And it produces feelings of hopelessness, powerlessness, resentment, and typically burnout happens in the workplace. And what's interesting is that now work is home. So now you're experiencing burnout at home, huh? Sometimes people experience burnout because the mindset again, your perception, whether you feel underappreciated. Have you ever felt underappreciated? Have you ever felt overworked? Have you ever felt confused about expectations and priorities? Who's concerned about job security? That can truly burn you out and max you out. When you overcommit, when you're always saying yes all the time to everything, and now it's at your expense. Or if you're resentful about the duties that you have and that you're not equally or fairly compensated for the work that you do. All of these are sources and results of burnout. So you have to know and be aware of these signs and these triggers so that you can be an advantage or have an advantage to do something about it. You can control your levels of stress. Many of you are saying, yes, in some areas I engage in good activities. Yes, levels of stress can be controlled. Yes, we can control it, I think. yes, I can control my stress level. So most of you, or many of you, or actually all of you, are saying yes, somehow I can control my level of stress. And the answer is yes, you can. Because how can you control the stress? Well, one great way of controlling the stress is you're showing up for this presentation and you're learning about the sources of stress. You're knowing about the three levels of stress, and you're learning about the four major factors to stress. So the fact that you are aware of how you're reacting, how you're perceiving external factors, puts you in an advantage to control the stress levels. You can now decide to not stress. You can decide to, let's say, for example, if watching the news all the time is stressing you out, you can turn social media off. You can close your laptop. You can turn off your phone. That can bring the levels down because now you're not consumed by everything that's going on in the world. So therefore, yes, great everybody that you said yes to that you can absolutely control your stress. All right, so let's talk about it real quick so that we continue, because I definitely want to get to the point of talking about the coping strategies and mechanisms that you need to put in place to control stress or to become stressless. So how does it affect your body, your feelings, and your behavior? So here's the responses. Let me know if any of these apply to you. Let me know if any of these apply to you. The responses to stress on your body. Who ever experienced these type of stressors or effects rather? Headache, chest pain. If that's you, put it in the comment section. Which one of these are the ones that have affected your body? Talk about stress. Put that in the comment section. So Sabina has said, no, we can't control the levels of stress, but we can find a way to make some levels low. Well, that is that is a way of being able to control your stress level. So absolutely, yes, you can. It's when we think that we cannot. That is the issue. Based on how we think determines how we behave. So if we think that we cannot control the stress levels, then you're right. If you think that you cannot control your stress levels, then you're right. If you think that you can control your stress levels, then you're right. It depends on how you think. So if you think that you can control it, you absolutely can, because all of a sudden you're going to find ways, ideas are going to come to you, such as, oh, I need to come on this presentation with IGP so that I can learn about stress levels, so I can learn about controlling my stress. So that's just how things work. But anyway, please talk back to me in regards to what are the effects of stress? Because again, we got to make sure that you are fully aware, because knowledge is power. When you are fully aware of how external factors are impacting you, how you're thinking, how you're reacting, it puts you at an advantage to control it. So, have you had the headaches? Have you had the chest pain? Have you had the shortness of breath? Someone has said headache, anger, anxiety, crying. Okay, you have experienced many of these responses. Good. You need to be aware. This is not to be a downer. It's for you to be fully prepared on how to control the stress. Thoughts and feelings, anxiety, worry, depression, sadness. And this is not, again, to beat you up. It's not to make you feel bad, like, oh my God, I'm having stress everywhere, body, feelings, thoughts, and behavior. No, it's to put you in an advantage. It's to make you aware so that you can control it. See, a lot of times we're always trying to control what we cannot control, such as the pandemic. That's why it's so stressful, right? Besides other major factors. But the fact that we try to control what we cannot control, we have to look at what we can control and what we are controlling. That gives us the energy, the vitality, the momentum to do something about it based on what we can control, not based on what we cannot. So this is just to let you know, oh my God, now I know that my loss of appetite has to do with stress. Oh my gosh, me crying has to do with me being stressed. It doesn't mean that I'm weak. It doesn't have to mean that I have a mental health disorder. It just means that life is happening to me right now, and it's having me to react so that I can adjust. That's how my humanistic makeup is comprised of. It's to help me to adjust so that I can be stressed less. So when you shift your mindset, it's called reframe. Reframing, when you look at it from a different perspective, it helps you to now get a different result and outcome. So it's time, everyone, for us to reframe our mindset so that we can now get different results. So the next question is that you can easily tell that you are under stress, yes or no? Who can easily tell that you are under stress? Is that you? So you can easily tell that you are under stress. How many of you say yes? Most of you are saying, yes, I can control my stress. Yes, I can tell that I'm stressed. Yes, I can easily tell that I'm under stress. Yes, yes, and yes. All right. So you can easily tell that you are under stress. Well, with this presentation, now that you're having more knowledge about it, yes, you can. But if you did not have this information and knowledge, not necessarily. Sometimes you can't easily tell. Before we did this presentation, did you know that your reaction, your perceived, your perception of a perceived threat, did you know any of this before this presentation? And if you did not, then no, you easily couldn't tell that you were under stress. But now that you're getting the information, again, such as knowing the sources of stress, being able to identify and locate the sources of stress, being able to now know how you respond to stress. Now that you're getting this information, it should be easier for you to be able to locate and to determine if you are stressed or not. All right. So now that we talked about, let's step back. Let's do a breather right now. So who does breathing exercises? Let me tell you, I'm already going to talk and share with you one great technique of how you can deal with stress. So I want to pause because we have been talking for about 48 minutes. And I want us to step back. And I want you to do a breathing exercise with me. So if you're sitting, which I hope you are, you're sitting down, and I want you to have your arms to your side, and I want you to have your hands to your side, or you can have your hands on your lap. Okay? I want you to sit up, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to follow my lead, and I want you to do 3 quick breaths with me. So I want you to go ahead to close your eyes, sit up straight, have your hands on your lap, or have your arms to your side. Sit up, and I want you to take a nice cleansing deep breath in through your nose. So go ahead and breathe in, and I want you to hold for 3 counts. 3, 2, 1. And exhale out through your mouth. Now, I want you to do that again. So close your eyes, sit up straight, have your hands on your lap or to your side. I want you to take a nice cleansing breath through your nose. So go ahead and breathe in and hold. 3, 2, 1. And exhale out through your mouth. And I want you to do that one more time. I want you to go ahead and take a nice deep through your diaphragm, through your stomach. I want you to go ahead and take a nice cleansing breath through your nose. So go ahead and breathe in and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale all of it out through your mouth. And here's the best part. I want you to go ahead and shake it out. Shake it out. Shake out the stress. Shake it out through your hands. Shake it out through your shoulders. Shake it out through your chest. Shake it out through your head, your legs. Shake it out through your feet. Shake it out through your head. And let it go. That is how one way, an effective way, to be able to let go of stress. What I had wanted you to do, because this is something that's easy, free to do, is to breathe. Put that in the comment section. Breathe. A lot of times when we're so tense and we're so stressed out, maxed out, and burnt out, we don't breathe enough. We don't get enough oxygen to our brain. So if you can just stop when something is so stressed out, when now you have realized that you are so stressed, you're so tense, you're so wound up, that you need to tell yourself, stop. And you stop and you take nice cleansing breaths. You hold them for 3 seconds to 5 seconds and you exhale it out and you shake it out. It's interesting that we're the only mammals on the planet. We're the only mammals on the planet that don't shake off stuff after a fight, after dealing with some type of source of stress. Animals do it. We can too. Shake the stress off, but make sure that you take time to breathe so you can recoup and you can recollect yourself to be able to be stressed less and deal with whatever matters that are at hand. Yes? All right. High blood pressure is a sign of chronic stress. How was that for you? Talk back to me real quick before we go into the question. How was the breathing exercise? Who actually did it? Was I doing it by myself? There's over 300 of you here, so I hope that was helpful. Who actually did it? Partly, Mary said partly yes. Well, I hope that was helpful. You make sure that at your time, you take a moment for yourself and you stop and you take a breath, okay? So high blood pressure is a sign of stress, yes or no? So high blood pressure is not all the time a sign of stress. Yes, high blood pressure is a sign of stress. High blood pressure is a sign of stress. All right. So to answer your question about high blood pressure being a source of stress, yes, we mentioned that earlier. When and that can either be during an episodic acute stress or it can be a chronic stress, but you're always elevated. So yes, high blood pressure. While high blood pressure can also be a physical matter where it has to deal with some type of medical condition that can be going on, hypertension, high blood pressure. When your levels are elevated constantly, we mentioned that before, then yes, that is a sign. That can be a sign of stress. So yes, for everybody who said yes, 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 yes. And I'm so glad that I wasn't by myself doing the breathing exercise and looking not saying I'm looking crazy, but doing it by myself. I'm so glad for those who did it. Do you feel a little relaxed? When I do that with my clients, they always feel so relaxed after that. And because now that you're getting oxygen to your brain, you're able to think. And now ideas come on what you can do to help yourself out. And that the fact that you were able, before doing the breathing exercise and before this presentation, you may have felt that you were a victim to circumstance. You may have felt that you were a victim to stress and that there was nothing that you can do about it. That was one of the questions, right? Are you able to control stress? Before this presentation, you probably said no. But now that you're getting the techniques by becoming aware of what stress looks like and how it's impacting you, and now employing the breathing exercise to take a moment for yourself, you're now getting in position to be able to control the stress. So I hope that you felt relaxed. I hope that helped to kind of free you up in your mindset. So now it opens up avenues of effective ways. But let's talk real quick about the ineffective ways of coping with stress. All right. If this locates you, it's okay. No harm, no foul, no judgment. This is a free, safety zone. I'm not here to criticize or to judge you. So please let me know. Have you ever employed any of these ineffective coping strategies? You just leaving things up to chance. You are keeping yourself from planning and thinking ahead. You are cramming things at the last second. You don't set clear priorities or expectations. You're letting problems accumulate. You're avoiding, you're not dealing with problems. You're not taking care of yourself, self-care or lack of self-care. You're working alone and you're not allowing people to help you, or you're not delegating responsibilities. Any of these apply to you? Let me know right now. Someone said they're guilty of some. Oh, guilty of some of these ineffective coping strategies. So let me know which one of these apply to you. Which ineffective coping strategy have you been employing? Again, whether you're leaving it up to chance, which means you're avoiding, whether you're planning, you're not planning, or not thinking ahead. Because one person, I saw that earlier, and I want to acknowledge it, when someone was starting to talk about what did they learn. And I'm going to ask you that. What did you learn from 2020? What did you learn from this pandemic? So if you weren't prepared before, prayerfully, you're going to be prepared ahead for the next pandemic. God forbid. But to now not be caught with your pants down. That's a phrase that we use here in the States. But to not let this get you twice. To now be fully prepared financially, emotionally, mentally, socially, economically. Yes? So which one of these ineffective coping strategies have you been doing? Someone said working alone, facing deadlines, cramming at the last second. You're not alone. I have to admit, I do that too. Or look, I'm going to be honest. I cannot be a good presenter here and not set the example, or not at least be honest. I have found myself trying to do everything at the last minute because of the adrenaline rush. The adrenaline rush, trying to, feel so energized. But I tell you the truth, honey, at the age that I am now 20 years before, yeah, it was a great thing when I was in college and high school. 20 years now later, I don't like doing all that. I don't like the adrenaline rush at all. I would rather be ahead of the game and have everything planned ahead of time, as opposed to trying to cram things at the last second. Someone said, yes, all of the above. Refraining from planning and thinking ahead. Thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you so much for being honest, because the truth shall make you free. Yes or yes? So now that we know the ineffective coping strategies, we now know not to do them. Yes or yes? We have to make sure that we are in position to provide self-care, being aware of delegating responsibilities, setting clear priorities, not letting problems accumulate, not seeing the environment as threatening, not being compulsive, not cramming things at the last second, not leaving it up to chance. That's pretty much the answer. So, just want to share this out, because this is some good teaching, isn't it? I have to share this out. All right. So now that we are aware, once again, of the sources of stress, we are aware of how it impacts us, mind, body, and spirit. Now that we are aware of the four major sources of stress, now that we are aware of the ineffective coping strategies, someone mentioned this earlier. Well, are there effective coping strategies for stress? Absolutely. We're going to talk about it right here, right now. Who's ready for it? If you're ready to know the effective coping strategies to stress, say that's me in the comment section. Yes. Planning is always changeable. The topic is very interesting, especially for those who work from home. Yes. Online teacher during the pandemic. Yes, Mary. Same here. Yes, yes, yes. You ready? All right, let's go. Oh, and I love that. Thank you so much for saying that. Zapura, I hope I said your name right. Yes, it should be handled right away before it gets worse. One great technique, everyone, besides the breathing exercise, a lot of times the problem is we try to deal with stress head on when we were not prepared for it. So what you have to do is be prepared for it ahead. I'm going to use a passage in the Bible. I'm going to paraphrase it. It says, be prepared for a time of war. Be prepared for war in a time of peace. Be prepared for war in a time of peace. Be prepared for war at a time for peace. What does that mean? It means that you need to prepare now. You don't wait until the stress comes up. You don't wait for the problem to happen for you to now deal with it if you didn't build up your arsenal for it. You see people being successful in dealing with stress because they have prepared ahead of time. They've been doing it on a regular basis. Someone mentioned about meditation, breathing exercises, affirmations, doing things, self-care. If you do that consistently on a regular basis when nothing is stressing you out, when stress comes, you're able to handle it better and differently. Does that make sense? Yes? So be prepared. Start preparing now. We don't wait until the new year to now get prepared for the new year. You prepare now for the new year. Yes? So the same thing with stress. You take these effective coping strategies, and while it's something that you may have not consistently done, maybe while you haven't thought to do these things, something that's easy and free to do, that you don't have to see a mental health professional, by which though I will still say that you should. If the stress, if you find that it is really impacting you and you cannot function in your day-to-day life. Outside of that, these are some things that you can do to keep yourself from having to see a mental health professional like myself. Free and easy to do if you consistently do it. Providing that self-care and making yourself first before anything and everyone else. And it's okay to do just that. So prepare for war in a time of peace. Prepare for the stress before the stress comes, and therefore you will be stressed less. All right. I hope that was helpful. That just came to mind. Let me see. There is no one best stress management technique. Yes or no? There is no one best stress management technique. There is no one best stress management technique. Yes or no? Many say no, many say yes. It depends on which way you're fighting against it. So with that, there is no one best stress management technique. Based on how the question is posed, there is no one best stress management technique. There are, for the individual, there may be the best stress management technique for yourself. Because remember, we mentioned this earlier about, and I'm paraphrasing, if stress impacts us all the same. And because we're all different, that means no, it doesn't impact everyone the same. And likewise, there may be a best stress management technique for you that you find that works, because it's not a matter of trying to do everything. Maybe at first you may have to try and see which one works for you and it's your groove and you're able to flow effortlessly and seamlessly with it. But then if that is your jam, as we say here in the States, if that is your go-to because you find that it is actually helping you, then yes, that is your best stress management technique. So for me, the best stress management technique for me is breathing, the breathing exercise and shaking it off in the end. Oh my gosh, that helps me so much. So if that is what works for me, that is my best stress management technique. Now, depending on the stressor, it may take a couple of breathing exercises, plus some affirmations, plus some self-care, plus whatever else, depending on the source and the size of that stressor. But for the standard, if I find that my heart rate is elevating, if I'm finding myself, having heart palpitations and my hands are being sweaty, or if I find that my blood pressure is elevated, then whatever it is that now is an indicator, a sign, then that means that I need to address it head on. And now using these coping techniques to address it so that I can stress less and deal with the source of stress. All right, so here we are coming to the home stretch, although we have about another 55 minutes together. But let's talk about the effective coping strategies. So here are some. And I should have asked you, for those who actually find that you have some great stress management techniques, put that in the comment section. Let's share it among each other. Yes? So, Arpana, I hope I said your name right, mentioned about stress management techniques, breathing exercises, yoga, a friendly club. So some of you are mentioning about yoga. Yoga, you know, yoga techniques and exercises can be a great stress releaser, right? Karma asks a question. I will, hopefully I can answer that for you, Karma. Deep breathing, shedding some uncontrollable tears. Yes, you know, it's okay to cry. We always automatically think that is a sign of weakness, and we don't want anyone to take advantage of us. But I've always said this to my clients, that tears have voices. Tears speak when we can't, when we're unable to speak for ourselves. So when we are crying, that's another way that our body has been made so beautifully to get the stress out. So it's okay to cry, to get that out, however you need to get it out, so that you can be stressed less. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Music, yes. Music is so great of a stress reliever, Arlene. Yes, music. Who loves music? Who loves music? What type of music do you love that you find that is a stress reliever? I started to listen at night binaural beats, like when you're listening to certain sound of music in a certain hertz, and when you listen to the music, it can actually help to calm and to relax and to be stress less. So I tend to now listen to music, certain types of music at night, to to let go of the day, so that I can now come to my next day refreshed, starting off right, as opposed to bringing whatever I went through last night or yesterday into my next day. So music absolutely is a great, great, great way to release stress. Y'all are doing so awesome. I'm learning so much from you. Dancing, yes, Par, Zumba. Who dances? Who loves to dance? Who's ready to get up and dance with me? Who's going to do their best dance? Yes, dancing, music, yoga, meditation, affirmations, visualization when you're picturing being in your happy place. Yes, absolutely. Praying, absolutely. Crying, absolutely. These are so great. Great. Y'all doing a great job. I just want to applaud y'all. See, you know more than what you give yourself credit for. Yes and yes. Let me see. I'm going to come back to you all. All right. So, some other effective coping strategies. Awesome. Some other effective coping strategies: putting energy into areas that can be managed and identify areas of that is out of your control. So, in other words, start putting your energy and noticing your energy and what you can control. We talked about that earlier. How you can control your day to day based on what you can control. Looking at what you can control, not what you cannot. Planning for the future. So as we mentioned earlier about, hey, the pandemic has impacted us. And here we are today. Someone mentioned it earlier. Have learned. What have you learned during the pandemic, so that now you can prepare for your next year ahead of the game, being ahead of the game. So planning for your future. Setting time and energy for unexpected. So we mentioned preparing for war and a time for peace. So during this time, while yes, we're still in a pandemic, at this time of this recording, you still can start preparing how you want your next year to be and to look like. What did you learn from this whole ordeal? So that you can now take what you learned, turn those lessons that you learned into blessings for your 2021 year and beyond. Because that's what really is going on. It's a lesson or a blessing. We can turn these lessons into blessings, not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones as well, or our communities. So planning ahead, putting time and energy ahead for the unexpected, the unplanned, for crisis events, such as, God forbid, the next pandemic, but you take what you learn now and turn that lesson into a blessing. Accurately perceive both threats and support from the environment. So now you're going to be able to accurately know what is an actual threat versus a perceived one. Through what we've learned so far in terms of the 4 major sources of stress, when we learned about the different types of stress, when we learned about the ineffective coping strategies, and now we're talking about the effective coping strategies, that we can take what we've learned to now know the difference between what is a threat, a real threat, and what is a perceived threat. I'm just going to take a little bit of water. Another way is to take time to evaluate alternative strategies. So we all have been working and helping each other out right now and providing what has been effective coping strategies. And you take them and you now look at what are some alternatives. We talked about earlier, what helps, what is your best coping strategy that you can employ, that you found that is really helpful all the time for you. And depending on the type of factor or matter that you have to face, it may require additional coping strategies, but at least you're able to take the time right now to evaluate the source of stress and also knowing what are the alternative strategies for each stressor. You also can do self-care. You know, I find it so interesting how we don't care for ourselves enough. And I find it's based on how, again, we think about ourselves. Who's guilty of that? Who's guilty of the fact that we put everyone ahead of ourselves? We make everyone first and we make ourselves dead last. Who's guilty of that? I've been guilty of that. Making everyone and everything first and a top priority, but not realizing that that is telling us psychologically to our own selves that we're not a priority, that we're not important enough compared to our loved ones, our work, our job, our career. So because of how we operate and how we handle matters, that really indirectly speaks to us, and it tells our mindset that we're not important enough to provide self-care, not compared to our loved ones or to our job, because that relates to our money, to our livelihood, to our lifestyle. So what I want to do is dispel that you have to give yourself permission to give yourself self-care. You have to give yourself permission to add, to add and to include yourself in the equation. You have to give yourself permission to say that you are important enough to stop and give yourself a few minutes of self-care. Yes? So with that said, effective coping strategies, self-care, that is paramount. Who's going to do it? Talk back to me. Put it in the comment section. You vow right now, right here and right now. You're going to tell me, Dr. Sarah Renee Langley, yes, I am going to start providing self-care strategies for myself. I'm going to make myself first. I'm going to give myself permission. I tell you the truth, that's going to actually alleviate a lot of stress when you now reprioritize your life and making yourself top priority. That's not selfish. Then don't feel guilty for it. How can you be good to anyone else if you're not good to yourself? You're setting the example. You're setting the example for everybody else to follow. So if you're not treating yourself with that respect and that courtesy that I mentioned earlier in the presentation, to give yourself credit and courtesy, to make yourself first unapologetically, then you're going to find yourself having chronic stressors. You're going to find yourself having episodic acute stressors happening in your life. So you have to make sure that you give yourself permission, starting today, to make yourself first, to give yourself that self-care. At least 5 minutes of your day before you even start your day. before you give your life away to everything else. Starting with yourself first. Yes? Who's with me? Put that in the comment section if you are. All right. Manny said, yes, I agree. We should take good care of ourselves. Absolutely. Charity begins at home. Yes, Ramondo. You know what it is? What's interesting is that charity begins with home, with ourselves, inside of ourselves. Not just the physical edifice, but us. It starts with us. Love starts at home with us. Yes? So let me tell you, self-love is the best love. We have to love ourselves. So I can go on and on and on about this, but this is beautiful self-care at its finest. When you are able to give yourself permission to make yourself first and top priority, when you give yourself at least 5 minutes before you start your day and give your life away to everything and everyone else, when you actually make the time to do the coping strategies that we mentioned that were effective, you will find yourself being stressed less, guaranteed. When you prepare yourself in war, when you prepare for war in time of peace. So put your energy in areas that you can manage and you have control of. Plan for the future. Set aside time and energy for the unexpected and crisis events. Accurately perceive what is a real threat and what is not. Take time to evaluate the alternative strategies that you have. Adapt strategies, apply them consistently so that you can find what is the best stress management technique that works best for you. Take care of yourself and your body. Avoid overloading and packing and relaxing. Stop overloading yourself. Stop doing the most, everyone. You will find yourself being stressed less when you do that. Seek professional help from a professional counselor. If you find that what is going on in your world is too much for you, that is impacting your day-to-day functioning, such as if you find yourself being depressed, tearful, sad, stressed out, angry, bitter, anxious, for 2 weeks or more, when you find that you cannot do your work, you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your responsibilities, when you find that you're finding ineffective coping strategies, whether now you're doing, you're drinking too much, you're doing drugs too much, or whatever the case is, and now it's impacting your physical state, mental state, emotional state, and you can't control it for 2 weeks or more, seek professional help. It's okay. It does not have to mean that you are crazy. It just means that you just need some more support. And that's okay to seek a mental professional counselor. So please make sure that is another great self-care way of being able to get the support that you need. You're not alone. You're not alone. So make sure that you do that. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself. And manage your time and focus on your priorities. All right, so let's stop there for a second. Let me know if it's been helpful. If you find value in this presentation, please make sure that you're sharing this out, because again, sharing is caring. And if you find this to be very valuable and powerful, that you can help your friends, your loved ones, your peers, your colleagues out, make sure that you're sharing this out. This is so important and so timely. We are preparing war. We prepare for war in time of peace. We are preparing right now for our beautiful new year ahead, to be stressed less and stress-free. Yes? All right, let me ask you this question. You already answered this already while I was talking. Exercise is an effective coping strategy for stress. Exercise is an effective coping strategy for stress. Is exercise an effective coping strategy for stress? Yes or no? Everyone's saying yes. It releases body hormones and relaxes our body. Yes, 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 and yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm so glad that this is very helpful. This is your 12th webinar. Awesome. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. I'm so glad that this is helpful. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that this is helping you out. So, yes, exercise is an effective way because it does release the hormones. It actually releases the hormones that's in your body. It's amazing how the body is made and how it's wired. The way that we are made to deal and to actually deal with stress, to deal with the stressors out there in the world. So when you are exercising, it does release certain hormones in your body. It does release the energy and everything else that's going on that you need to let go so that you can be more free, more fluid, more happy. Who just wants to be happy in their lives? Is that just me? Am I by myself on that one? Who just wants to be happy? So happiness comes from within, not from without. So when you are able to release the stressors, it now makes room for you to now release and unleash the happiness that's from within. All right. I'm going to skip that because we actually have been answering the questions. All right. Just to let you know real quick, so now we have talked about and we have identified the three sources of, or the three types of stress. So talk back to me real quick. Who remembers the three types of stress? I know that was an hour ago, but let's now refresh our memory. What are the three types of stress that you have that you can remember that we talked about? Put it in the comment section. What are the three types of stresses that we talked about? So we talked about episodic acute stress. We talked about, yes, we talked about acute stress, yes. And we talked about chronic stress, yes, 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 and yes. Then we talked about the different sources or major stressors, such as life adjustments, unexpected, unrealistic expectations. And so interpersonal relationships, did we not talk about that? Yes. And then we talked about, yes, very good, Raimondo, yes. Then we also talked about ineffective coping strategies, which we all had to be honest and admit, whether, we're doing things at the last second, whether we're leaving it up to chance. What are some other ones that we talked about? Very good, everyone. Very, very good. All right. Yes, we talked about overcommitting. We talked about effective strategies to stress. We talked about meditation, breathing. What else did we talk about? What some other ones that we said that were good, effective coping strategies? Yes. We talked about the yoga. We talked about exercising. We talked about praying. We talked about what else? Yes, yes. Very good. All right. So now we know how to apply, what effective ways to apply, how to make it work for us, and how to be prepared ahead of time so that it does not impact us going ahead in our future. To be prepared now, but when stresses come, we have the arsenal, we have the tools now to use to our advantage because now we are aware. We are able to identify how does it show up in us, in our bodies, in our mindset, in our day-to-day. So how did it show up? We talked about that. When it comes to our body, it may be, yes, headaches. It may be anxiety. Yes. It may be depression. Yes. Overthinking, overreacting. Yes. So those are the things and the ways that it's been showing up in our mind, our body, and our soul. Then we talked about ways to combat the stress. So now we're going to talk about real quick personality traits that contribute to the stress. All right, here's another, what's what I'm looking for? Honest moment. Perfectionism. Who is a recovering perfectionist? Like myself, I am a recovering perfectionist. Who's a recovering perfectionist? Perfectionism indeed can contribute to stress, everyone. Yes, yes, yes. Overly committing. Those yes people who's always saying yes out there. Who's always saying yes to everything and not saying no. It's okay to say no sometimes, everyone. So if you're overly committing yourself and dedicating yourself to everything and saying yes, that can absolutely contribute to stress. Needing to prove yourself. Needing to prove yourself. Yes, that can be interesting. having to prove yourself all the time that that you're a great person, that you're hardworking, that you're diligent, always trying to prove everyone that that is what you need to do. Having a problem saying no, difficulty delegating responsibility, self-sacrificing, always giving and never receiving. These are personality traits that contribute to stress. So what we have to do is be mindful of our personality, because a lot of times we try to romanticize it. We try to pretty it up. We try to make it seem like these type of personality traits, this is who I am. This is who I am. So, I don't want to change me. But if it's causing you stress, you may have to reconsider your personality trait. Yes? You have to always be self-sacrificing. You don't have to always say yes to everything. You don't have to always overly commit. You don't have to always make sure that everything is right and perfect. You don't have to always give yourself until there's nothing left to give. I had a client who used to say that she was running on E all the time and then still had 1,000 miles to go. Now that is a lot. So make sure that you are mindful and being aware of the personality traits that you carry, that you may hold dear and say, this is who I am. I don't know anything else outside of me. But if it's causing you stress or it's contributing to your stress, you have to reconsider your personality traits. All right. So I'm so glad that these have met your expectations as far as with the webinar. So just let me know real quick, what personality trait, that's the next question real quick. What personality trait do you find yourself having? Because now, if you're able to identify any of these personality traits that you see in yourself, you now see that that may contribute to your stress. And if you see that it is contributing to your stress, then you can actually change it. You can apply the effective coping strategies that we mentioned. So please let me know real quick, which one of these actually are you? Are you a perfectionist? Are you overly committing? Do you find yourself having to prove yourself all the time? Do you find yourself having difficulty saying no? Do you find yourself having difficulty delegating responsibility? Do you find yourself being a self-sacrificer? And do you find yourself being a perpetual giver as opposed to a giver and receiver? Which one is that for you? Roselle said difficulty saying no. Nina saying perfectionism. Thank you so much for being honest. A lot of times we have to be honest with ourselves so then we can know what to do to help ourselves out. Yes, difficulty saying no, being a self-sacrificer, yes. So because of that, you now are aware that these personality traits contribute to your stress. And now that you are aware, it puts you in an advantage to do something about it, to control it. Yes? So because of that, you now know to lessen up on the perfectionism. Everything doesn't, okay. So motivational guru, the late Zig Ziglar, he had mentioned that you don't have to be great to start anything. You just have to start, and therefore you'll end up being great. So you don't have to have everything perfect. You just have to start. You just have to have things done. It will work itself out to be perfectly imperfect. I talk about that in my book, the book that I've written called It's Your Turn Now, 7 Secrets to Living Life on Your Own Terms. It's your turn now, 7 Secrets to Living Life on Your Own Terms. So all you got to do is make sure that if you find yourself that you can actually accept certain things about yourself or about what you do, and it's okay for you, it's all right. It doesn't have to be all the time perfect. It does not have to be. You don't have to commit yourself. That doesn't mean that, that you're the greatest, bestest person ever just because you're committing and overly committing compared to the next person. If you find yourself being stressed out, maxed out, and burnt out, then you have to reconsider about overly committing just to make yourself seem like you're this great person. You are already a great person, even with you not always overly committing. Did you know that? You don't have to prove yourself all the time. I've been there as far as wanting to prove myself to everyone. And I found myself being very stressed out, especially when I compared it to everyone else and seeing that they weren't proving themselves, but yet they were pretty much okay. And I wanted to be pretty okay too. So I decided to not prove myself to everyone all the time. And also, difficulty of saying no, practice it at home. Practice it in the mirror right now. Say no. And while you may see your reflection, it seems like it may tell your psyche that you're saying no to yourself. I don't want you to necessarily do that, but I definitely want you to practice saying no. Picture and imagine or visualize a situation where you want to say no, but you find yourself not saying no. Again, prepare for war in time for peace. So if you actually beforehand practice in your mind, visualizing yourself saying no to a person or a situation, you will be surprised when that situation come up and you just come out and say no. You didn't know that you had it in you to say no. Yes, prepare now. Practice it in your mind. Something that you don't want to do, you don't have to do. Yeah? And difficulty delegating responsibility. So in terms of being able to, yes, be able to write down all of your responsibilities and seeing which ones you can actually give to. The thought, remember we talked about the perception of our way of thinking? It's because of the way that we think, it determines how we behave, right? So because of that, you may be perceiving, because again, I used to struggle with this, so I can talk about it and help many, countless clients with this same situation because I've also experienced it. When I had a problem with giving responsibility to people because I looked at it as no one can do it better than me. Who is like that? Who has been like that? Am I the only one? If that's you, put that in the comment section. But yes, difficulty delegating responsibility because you may feel that no one can do it better than you. But if you find that it is a source of stress and is contributing to your stress, then you may have to now map out what you can give a little bit at a time. So that can build the trust factor. You can start trusting people to be able to step up to the occasion or to rise to the occasion and be able to help you with those responsibilities. And lastly, self-sacrificing. It doesn't make you a saint because you're giving of yourself all the time, but there's nothing left to give. You're not being a good steward to yourself by self-sacrificing all the time. It's not about you just giving your life away and not receiving in return. Give yourself permission. Tell yourself it is okay to make yourself first, top priority, to give self-care so that you now have plenty to give, as opposed to not giving or not having nothing else left to give because you've been giving away and self-sacrificing. All right. So in short, pretty much you have to do something different to get different results. Yeah. So being able to do something different, that is the whole point of this conversation, to be stressed less, to now have a beautiful stressless year in the turn of the year, right? Do something different to get different results. That is the name of the game, everyone. So now you have learned what are the sources of stress. You were able to identify or know about the fight or flight. You were able to now know about the 3 to 4 major stressors in life. You are now able to identify the ineffective coping strategies. You are now able to know the effective coping strategies. You are able to know now the personality traits. And it all comes down to this. For you to be stressed less, do something different to get a different result. Think differently, and you will get differently. Think differently, and you will be different, actually. You are now in a position to control. You're now in a position to control. And excuse me for 1 second. I want to make sure I don't lose you with my computer. You're now in position to now control the stressors. So you asked earlier about that. You're just like, oh, can we, can I control the stress? Can I deal with the stress? Are there coping techniques and strategies that I can employ to now be stressless? And now we talked about it. So now all you have to do is take everything that you learned today, go forth, do it differently, think it differently, see it differently. Be consistent in your effective coping strategies and techniques that we talked about. Do the one that is working best for you and keep working it, and it's okay. If you find that you cannot, if you find that the stress is really taking over your life, it's all right. Seek professional mental health services. It's okay. It's only a means to get to your end, to now be stressed less. Do something different and get a different result. And you definitely will have a stress less and stress-free life. So what I want you to do right now is, what did you learn from today's session today? Please write down 5 words or sentences. What did you learn today from dealing and being able to pretty much reset your stress life, resetting your life to be stressless? So please put in the comment section for me. I would love to hear from you. Please write down 5 words. What have you learned from today's lesson? What are your takeaways? So I always tell my clients in the end, what resonated for you and what are your takeaways? So what resonated for you from our presentation and what is your takeaway? Let's see it. You learned how to handle your stress more effectively. Don't become a stressor of others. Instead, live harmoniously. Seek professional help. Very good. You learned about the stress, the burnout, the effective ways and ineffective ways. Perfectionism being a personality trait. Awesome. This has been very informative, meticulous. Awesome. I'm so glad. You learned how to manage your stress. Yes, yes. This has been a great learning experience. I'm so glad. Excellent. You learned to love yourself. Yes. Yes, and then it radiates. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. That's beautiful. You learned how to cope with stress in the workplace. Awesome. Your takeaways to develop stress less and a stress-free life. Absolutely. High five to you, Kerwin. And if I haven't mentioned your name, it's just because I want to make sure I pronounce your name like your mama had pronounced your name. I learned how to manage my stress, especially in the job and my coworkers. Oh, yes. I try to pronounce your names correctly. Self-care, self-love. You don't have to prove yourself to everyone every time. Yes, absolutely. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's not always giving, but it is to give and receive. Absolutely. Noella, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And to think differently. High five to you, sister. Nina says, seek for help. Know when to take a pause. Yes, stop and take breaths, right? Don't be anxious. Be open. Handle your stress on your own terms. High five to you. Yes, Nina. Stress is manageable depending on how you work it out. Yes, Mar. Go ahead. I have learned that stresses contribute to a broken family. I have to work on that, and that's okay, and you're not alone. So if you do need help and you need to seek mental health, professional mental help, it's okay to do that as well. Mars says self-care, saying no is okay, absolutely. Plan in advance, find time to relax, stay away from difficult people. Yes, yes, and yes, if you can. If you find yourself that you cannot, you can control your space. You can control who is in your space, right? So if that means that you spend less time away from them, if you can, or you can change the situation, whatever you can control, that is what you do. That helps to have a stressless life. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You learned about the 3 types of stress. Learning to say no. That's awesome. I would like to honestly bring to the notice that this day onward, I feel like my life has changed, many changes in my life, in myself personally, professionally, physically, and mentally. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad that you have learned so much from this presentation and all the presentations that IGP has presented to you. So again, it has been an honor to be before you. It's been an honor to be before you. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have connected with you today and to just leave a piece of me with you to have made this contribution, that in hopes that this was going to help you to have a stressless new year and beyond, and to make sure that you walk away having a stressless life, right? Life, lifestyle, and livelihood. So with that said, I will turn it over back to the to IGP and to see you on next steps, because I know that you're asking about your certification. So I will turn it over to them so that they can help you on next steps. Thank you so much, everyone. Let me see. Yes, it was an honor to be before you all. As far as with their certificates, I'm sure that they will let you know how and what needs to be done in getting the certificates. I see that everyone is talking more about how the coping techniques and the strategies, doing things differently. Always remember that it's about doing things differently to get different results, not doing the same thing and expecting a different result, because that is called insanity. And I don't know any insane people. So you have to make sure that you do different to get different. And when you do different and you think different, you become different. So Nina, oh yes, I'm sorry. Any questions? Q&A. So Nina had asked how to deal with people with different ideals than yours. So actually, it's a matter of being able to first, just like we did with the presentation today, we had to first identify what stress was, right? We had to then know what it looks like. And then we were able to know what it looks like and what we need to do to be stressless. So the same thing applies. How do you deal with people with different ideals? So you have to first identify, well, what are the different ideals that y'all share? Understanding why are they passionate about their ideals that may be different from yours, and then trying to see if there's a fine commonality. If there is a common thread that may blend between their ideals and yours, there may be something that is common or the same that may be in alignment between the two of you or between you and the other people. So to deal with it, you have to first identify it. You have to first understand what makes their ideals different from yours. Understand their passion about it. Understand even your own view, like what makes you different, or what makes your ideal different from them. What kind of thoughts you have about their ideals. So then that can bridge a gap to see if there's a commonality, if there's any shared ideals that y'all have that may help you to be in alignment and harmony. So I hope that answers this question. You deal with them by understanding their ideals, understanding what makes them have the ideals that they have, understanding your own view and perspective of their ideals, and then finding a commonality. What makes you all can be in alignment with it. Yeah. Among 3 stresses, which stress is harmful to you? So among 3 stresses, which stress is harmful for you? If you're asking me, I think the one for me is dealing with the personality. So the perfectionism. Again, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So always wanted to make sure everything was right. And because I want to make sure everything was right and perfect, I was in this spiral and this never-ending vicious cycle, where I wanted to make everybody happy, or make everyone going deeper into the core of it, wanting to make everybody proud of me. So that meant that when I got to know that, because in trying to always prove to be right and trying to make everybody happy and wanting to be perfect and make everything perfect so that I could be accepted, it was stressing me out. I was stressed out, maxed out, and burnt out because of the fact that it was never ending. You know, it's like I was always on the go trying to make them happy and trying to please people, being a people pleaser. So it started to affect I mentioned earlier about how the sources of stress shows up in your body, into your mental state. Um, I'll get stomach aches. So I'm prone, and actually, this is something that maybe y'all can do in your spare time, is looking up the psychosomatic symptoms to stress. How does it show up in your body? So I would have digestive problems and headaches. So the more that I would have headaches, I was debilitated. I couldn't work. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. When I started to notice that those indicators, know that everyone, that when it shows up in your physical plane, it really is a time and a matter to do something about the stress. Now, I already shared with you to prepare for war in time of peace, to prepare ahead of time so that you don't have stressors coming up in your life, or you can deal with them accordingly and appropriately and accurately. But our body is so beautifully made that we're walking indicators in and of itself. When you start to have headaches, when your blood levels are elevated, when you're having digestive problems, that means that it's getting out of control, out of control. And it's time to really do something about it. Okay. Hi, how are you? How can we free ourselves from stress? So we talked about that throughout the presentation. You first have to identify the stress. You have to know how it shows up in your mind, in your body, in your soul. You then have to know what ineffective ways have been you have been doing to deal with the stress. If the stress is still showing up, no matter how hard you try, then that means that you have to reconsider how you are dealing with the stress. So you have to identify the stress. You have to know what it looks like. You have to know how it shows up for you. And then you'll be able to know, fight fire with fire. In other words, you'll be able to pick out the appropriate stress, the appropriate coping strategy for the stress to alleviate it. So you have to know what it looks like, how it shows up for you, and then being able to know the different strategies that we talked about. We talked about breathing exercises, yoga, dancing, movement, singing, music. We talked about breathing. We talked about prayer. We talked about quite a few coping strategies that you can employ. We talked about how it shows up in your personality and how you have to adjust accordingly and reconsider your personality trait so that you can be stress less. So that's the great road to a stressless life. Thank you for your question. How to deal effectively with a stressful situation. So you have to first, as I mentioned, you have to be able to identify what the stress is and how it's showing up for you, because as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, it shows up differently for everyone. It's not all things equal. So you have to know, how does it show up for you, Zubar? I hope I said your name right. Zubair. You have to know how it shows up for you, and then be able to know what ineffective ways, and then to know what are the effective ways, so that you can do less of ineffective coping strategies and do more of the effective ones. So you deal with it effectively by first identifying what is the stress, how is it showing up, what type of stress is it for you, how have you been managing it all this time, and then what are you going to do? What can you do differently in applying the effective coping strategies so that you can deal with it and get rid of it, or at least manage it? Thank you for that question. Rebecca had asked, what if the one who stressed you is at your home? Yeah. So someone mentioned that earlier, actually. You can control your space. So a few things, a couple of techniques. So start your day off, a few minutes of self-care for yourself. Breathing, affirmations, visualization, yoga, stretching, prayer, meditation, journaling. Sometimes writing. I tell you the truth, if you can see my desk, I have loads of books. I'm always journaling, because that's another way of being able to release the source of stress. So being able to write things out, journaling, can be another way of releasing stress. So anyway, preparing yourself for your day. So if you have someone who plays part in, or is an external factor of stressing you out, we talked about one of four of those major sources of stress. Interpersonal relationships can be one. So communication, when we are not communicating how we are feeling, it is getting internalized. And that's why I mentioned earlier, what can you control? So starting your day off to alleviate the stress and preparing for stress by now being more relaxed, being able to be more open to how you deal with your day to day. So the best strategies to tell you is to first prepare yourself to be stress less, so that then when the person is stressing you out or they have the potential to stress you, that now you're already kind of prepared to deal with it. It will not, you won't allow it to stress you. Otherwise, communication. Sometimes it's being honest. And that's why I was empowering you all to be honest on certain ones when it comes to stress. So that now the more practice that you put towards being honest, that you can both put it out on the table of what is stressing you out and how that person is stressing you out. Hopefully, it will help to open up a door on what you can do to help each other out to not be stressed, especially now. There's too much going on to keep adding to stress. So either you manage your own stress levels with your own self-care so that that doesn't impact you as much as it has been, or being able to have a real honest heart-to-heart talk about how it that person is stressing you out and what can be done to now not stress each other out any further. And if you have to have outside help for that, like a couples counseling or support family counseling or something to that effect, then it's okay to do that as well. Hi, difference between stress and problem. Stress is a perceived threat. So it's based on how you perceive the external factor. Problem, stress can be a problem as opposed to the difference between stress and problem. So depending on how you look at the situation determines on that problem pretty much. An example can be problem with money. Problem with money can stress you out. Problem with family. Problem with family can stress you out. So stress is your perception or how you perceive it to impact you negatively. So the problem is can be an external factor or an internal factor. It could be medical problems. But again, that can be an indicator that stress is somewhere located in your body. So the difference between stress and problem is problems are can be sets or variations or various things that can cause stress. Stress is how you perceive that problem. If you find that problem to be a threat to your livelihood, to your lifestyle, to your way of life, that is the difference between. Right. Okay, so I think that we are pretty much at our time. This was
Yes,
amazing. Yeah.
we are
Thank
very
you.
grateful to you for your beautiful presentation. This session will really help our audience to do better in their personal and professional life. Actually, ma'am, can help me because uh, I was in hospital for last 5 days. My son is in ICU support, so maybe it can also help me a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And my prayers goes out to you and your family.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you again so much for giving us your valuable time and share your knowledge with us. Thank you, ma'am. Dear
Thank you.
audience, dear audience, I would love to thank you for attending today's session. I hope you learned something new and you will implement it in your life. Thank you so much for being with us. Our next webinars will be held on trusting your inner guidance at 20th December at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you,
And for
everyone.
to,
Y'all been great.
yes, ma'am, you can say anything.
Okay. So I was just saying thank you. Thank you to everyone, to the audience. It's been great. This has been a great, 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 great time. And I've been just honored, just honored to have been before everyone, to be before you, and to share the knowledge with everyone all over the world. So this has been such an honor. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share my gift. And God bless you. Blessings, peace, and love to you for your now and for your new year. I pronounce stress less in life for you and your new year and beyond. Thank you, everyone. You've been great.
Thank you so much, ma'am. For today's certificate, participants are requested to log in our website www.eduigp.com, and link also share in comment box. For today's session, you don't need any code for claim your certificate. Just log in our website and click on today's session and click enroll, then click get your certificate. No code required for today's session also, and link is already shared in comment box. I already shared in fifth times. Link already shared with comment box. Just click on link and then enroll. If you have account, then click enroll, and if you have done a if you new in our website, then you have to enroll. You have to create a account first. So click create a new account, then put your details and submit. After that, enroll, then again click your get your certificate, so you can claim your certificate easily. Dr. Uh, and read out your name because it's written in Hindi. There's no link. I already shared the link in comment section more than 10 times. Dr. Something, because your name written in Hindi. So I'm not capable to read in Hindi. I already shared the link in comment box more than 10 times. Thank you so much.